We have explored numerous aspects of Islam, and the videos have been seen by millions of people from different parts of the world. And this is the first episode, however, that we will be exploring the Prophet of Islam, Muhammad, peace be upon him. We're going to take a look at who he was and why he's so highly revered as a prophet of Islam. Hey everybody, my name is Leroy Kenton and you're watching FTD Facts. This is where we educate the world about the world. And just so you know, we won't be showing any images of the Prophet Muhammad. I know that's offensive to a lot of Muslim viewers, so we don't want to segregate anybody from watching this episode. Now, the first thing I want to start off with is, who was the Prophet Muhammad? Muhammad is the central prophet and final prophet of Islam. Born in Mecca in 570, most of his early life was spent as a merchant, and at the age of 40, that's when he began to have the revelations from Allah that became the basis for the Koran and the foundation of Islam. By 630, he had unified most of Arabia under a single religion, and Muhammad had huge influence in the world, and we have evidence of this because at the time of filming this episode, there are over 1.8 billion Muslims worldwide. Muhammad's father passed away before he was even born, and he was raised first by his grandfather and then by his uncle. So he belonged to a poor yet respectable family of the Quraysh tribe, and his family was very active in the politics and trade of Mecca. Throughout his early teens, Muhammad worked in a camel caravan. He gained a lot of experience when it came to commercial trade as he traveled from Syria and eventually from the Mediterranean Sea to the Indian Ocean. And Muhammad developed a really good reputation. I mean, he got the new nickname Al-Amin, which means faithful or trustworthy. And then later on in his early 20s, Muhammad began to work for a very rich merchant woman whose name was Khadija. And she, by the way, was 15 years older than he was. So she became attracted to Muhammad and eventually proposed to him, and he accepted. They got married and had several children throughout their marriage. Muhammad was with her for 25 years. And after her death in 619 CE, over time he married a number of women, 13 wives in total to be exact. Most of them were widows, and the reason for these marriages was to provide for them and to create strong family bonds. During the time of Muhammad, many of the tribes living in the Arabian Peninsula were nomadic. Most of the tribes were polytheistic, which meant that they worshipped several gods, and each of them had their different gods. And the town of Mecca was a very important one. It was like the central focal point for religion and trading matters. And the most famous site in Mecca was the Kaaba, and it's believed to have been built by the prophet Abraham and his son Ishmael. Muhammad, of course, was also a very religious man, and on one of his pilgrimages back in the year 1610, he was meditating in a cave on Mount Jabal al-Nur, and the angel Gabriel appeared to him and shared a message from God, and it was, "Recite in the name of your Lord who creates man from clot. Recite, for your Lord is most generous," and so on. And these words became the opening verses of Surah chapter 96 of the Koran. Soon after he started to share this experience with others, Muhammad began to gather a small following. And when his message began to condemn idol worship and pointed to one God, many of Mecca's leaders began to see Muhammad and his message as a complete threat. Resistance over time to Muhammad and his followers continued to grow, and they were eventually forced to immigrate from Mecca all the way to Medina in 622. This marks the beginning of the Muslim calendar, that particular event. And it was there that the Prophet Muhammad was very instrumental in bringing to an end a civil war that was raging between several of the tribes. And as Muhammad settled in Medina, he started building his Muslim community and gradually gathered acceptance and more followers. Between the years 1624 and 1628, the Muslims were involved in a series of battles. In the final major battle, known as the Battle of the Trench and Siege of Medina, Muhammad and his followers won and a treaty was signed. However, this treaty was broken by the people of Mecca a year later. But by that time, either way, Muhammad had plenty of forces and the power balance shifted towards him rather than in favor of the leaders of Mecca. In the year 630, the Muslim armies marched into Mecca and took the city. Most of the Meccan population then converted to Islam as they began to accept Muhammad's message. Muhammad and his followers then proceeded to destroy all of the statues and pagan gods in and around the Kaaba. So that was your brief inside look at the life of the Prophet Muhammad. And now there's so much more that we can explore. So let me know down below in the comments section if you would like us to continue this episode series. I mean, there's a lot more to cover about the life of the Prophet Muhammad as well as the early Muslim history. Thank you so much for coming to another episode of FTD Facts and Learning with me. My name is Leroy Kenton and I'll see you real soon in another episode. Hey everyone, so here's a playlist of Islam that you can expand your knowledge about the religion and learn about the history. And be sure to tune in to FTD Facts every single day for more educational episodes.